All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another Sunday conversation. This week, we are going to close out our political education series with a follow up on the election season that we just finished. So, if you are new here, we welcome you to this platform. We gather here in this virtual space every Sunday at 2 p.m., covering a range of topics. You can also join us on Tuesdays as we highlight Black and Brown businesses and community leaders, and also on Thursdays where you can learn about something new every week. And just a quick little introduction of our panelists that we have for us today as we start to get into this conversation. My name is Jada. I'm the director of programs here at both sides of the conversation. And the co-hosts for this conversation include our co-founders. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
My name is Rico Hamilton, co-founder of both sides of the conversation.
And I'm John Henry, co-founder of both sides of the conversation.
All right. And for those joining us on Zoom, you can add to this conversation through the chat function. You can also raise your hand and be brought up as a panelist to have the ability to unmute yourself. For those joining us on Facebook Live, we will be checking the comments actively to include your input. We'll be looking through the comments, trying to address some of the things that are said. And with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to John to overview our community standards of engagement every week, every platform. And ask that you all take the time to share this video, start a watch party. We want to have as much of the community included as we can. So John, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Both sides of the conversation is providing a safe and honest space for open conversation. Please be respectful of that. Please be respectful of the panelists, any hosts that's participating in the conversations. Healthy debates and conversations are encouraged here on our live webinars and in our groups. Please don't personalize anything with anyone, name calling, bullying, trolling, or shaming. That will not be allowed here at both sides of the conversation. Your perspective is yours. It is not a prescription. However, we do ask that you don't have to agree, but please show respect. We are creating an open forum dialogue for healing and education in the Black and Brown community.
All right. And John, also, do you want to go ahead and let everyone tuning in let them know about our upcoming topic this next Sunday and how we can have more participation?
Okay, definitely. Yeah, if you this upcoming Sunday, we're going to have highlighting the military veterans. We're going to have some powerful conversation with our Black and Brown military veterans, just talking about how we can help them, how we can support them, some of the things that they're going through, how do we get policy. We know that there's been a struggle with homelessness with our veterans and getting services. So we reached out to some amazing people, but it definitely, if you are a veteran, or you know someone that is a veteran, please reach out to us at both sides of the conversation at gmail.com. We would like to have you on as a panelist. We want to highlight and cheer on our Black service providers and salute them, but also we want to hear some of the things that they need and possibly how we could get behind them and support them in the community.
All right. Thank you, John. So let's go ahead and get into today's conversation. So today we are going to be just doing a little bit of follow up on everything that happened in this past week in terms of propositions that was passed, whether they be local, statewide, the state of California, for those viewers who we have who are not in this state, and also the primary elections, the presidential elections. So I am going to give it to John and Rico to go ahead and start us off. And we will be, again, looking in the Facebook Live comments. So please participate and join us.
All right. Thank you, Jada. Rico, are you ready to go? I didn't think today was going to be the day we were going to find out who our president was going to be. So we do have a presidential nomination. Our new president will be Joe Biden. The vice president will be Kamala Harris. Definitely want people to chime in. And I know a lot of people is excited here in the West Coast. The country has definitely spoke and are looking for change. I know some people agree, some people don't agree, but today is the day we could have that conversation. Come on, I think as people, we need to figure out how we're going to move forward now. I know that the Senate seats is still tied right now at 48 or 49 or something. So we're trying to see which way that's going to go. I mean, if the Democratic Party definitely gets that seat, they will have full control of the House and the Senate, which is huge. And then, in a sense, if that happens, how now do we as a community put pressure on them to push the needs of the Black and Brown community, because then, they have full control. There's no hold up. They can overvote, the other party, and let's see if they can get some bills done. I think right now it's needed. We have a lot of issues in our Black and Brown community that needs to be addressed. People voted. There was a lot of promises and things that was going to change, and I just hope we'll actually get the change that we needed. Some of the important topics I know is the DACA, the immigration bill. That's something that's definitely need to be emergency looked at. Jail reform is going to be definitely a big one. I know why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was on the campaign trails. They was talking about some kind of way of either getting marijuana off the Schedule 1 or trying to do some kind of form of legalization. Here, we're not advocating, you know, either way on that with drugs. But one of the things I brought that up, I was reading an article last night, and they was talking about how many black men in Louisiana, Alabama, certain parts of the South are still in jail, 20, 30 years for having minor or small possession of marijuana or intent to sell marijuana. And I think, it's time to make some kind of change on this drug policy. We have families being destroyed. We've had men being locked up. And again, I think Oregon, Arizona, 5 other states also legalized marijuana this past Tuesday for the election. And again, corporations are profiting, making money now off legal marijuana, and we still have people black and brown locked up all across this country for those type of charges. So I think the conversation needs to be real. I think it needs to be happening soon, and we just need to get some change all the way up. So hopefully they could get a new attorney general. I'm haven't seen none of the layout of what the cabinet is going to look out or the different positions that's filled. I just hope they find a way to get Stacey Abrams opportunity. She's a powerful sister. But that's just kind of where I wanted to start talking those points. I know Rico go have his. We have some local things here in the San Francisco area that passed. Proposition A, I know the mayor was pushing heavy on that. There's some other propositions that went through. Shaman District 10, Walton had a couple of his propositions he was pushing past. So definitely we want to talk about that. And, just seeing how the people feel. I mean, I know it's a lot of people are excited. This is the first time we've had a woman vice president. She's a black woman, a woman of color, however you want to identify her as. But she is a woman. And I want to hear from our sisters. How do you guys feel? Is this impacting you? How moving forward? Is this the gate that needed to be open to push women even farther in this country? So definitely some good comments, and I want to hear from Jada on how she feel about that as well. Being a woman and having this type of leadership now. Kamala has an opportunity to really make some profound change in this country. I know she's connected with a lot of people, but I know a lot of people had issues, and if she really want to right those wrongs, I think this is a great time to use the platform that she's on as vice president to make change in this country.
You gonna answer that, Jada?
Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead. Yeah, for sure. It's a beautiful thing to see, but I will say it is kind of complex, to put it in simple terms, because that serves as representation for a lot of women of color. That serves, not only is she the first female, vice president, she's the first, Black, Asian American, vice president as well. So that's huge. And so yes, in terms of representation, I am happy about that. But there are a lot of complex layers to it as well. I think for me, when you look at it as a whole entire system, the system as it stands now, it's kind of hard to just truly be completely happy with it. Completely happy with even the results of the election, to be quite honest. But her in that position, like you said, John, I think it's very important that, yes, she does have the opportunity to go ahead and right some of the wrongs. I hope that she uses this position to push forward legislation that can actually benefit the Black community. And yeah, that's all I'll say for now. But I definitely do want to hear from other women. How do they feel about her position, and what are they loving about it? What are they not so happy about? All of that.
So do you guys just want to just dive directly into local races so we can just kind of like have a build up to the presidential election? So maybe we can start off with districts if you guys want. What do you think, John?
Definitely. Let's do it.
All right, maybe we can start with district. Is it 1? District
Yes.
1, Peskin, huh? So Peskin, he wins again. He wins again. So, which is, I think
Actually, sorry, Rico,
or
that
she's
is
3.
District 3.
She's
District
3.
1 was Connie Chan.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, Jada. Well, let me know then. Let me know. I got it right here. I don't know why I didn't turn this way. So okay, let me okay, wow. District 9, District 7. Okay, here we go. So District 1, Connie Chan. Do you know anything about Connie Chan? Yeah, I don't either. I don't know too much of her politics. I'm not gonna even sit here and lie. So that must be, I ain't gonna say it's a bad thing, but it's a thing that we need to look into because all supervisors definitely need to be tapped into the Black community. So and especially in San Francisco, and making sure that the African Americans and whatever in their communities are being served and serviced properly. So we don't know you, but we definitely will. We're gonna reach out and we're gonna see if we can have an in-depth conversation with Connie Chan. So now we're gonna go to 3. That's Aaron Peskin. So Peskin, he wins with 53.57% of the vote for District 3. Peskin, to me, he's pretty cool. I think that sometimes he plays neutral a lot. But then again, yeah, he's a wobbler. I would consider him a wobbler for us. So yeah, he's a wobbler. Jay, do you know much about him?
I do not. Nope.
Yeah, I see him as a wobbler. Then we have District 5, Dean Preston. He is the District 5 supervisor with 51.69% of the vote over Valley Brown with 40% of the vote. I think Dean is a good dude. I think that his politics is he has some great ideas on the issues that he addressed. Of course, I mean, I'd be honest, I was rocking with Valley. But just in the sake of a political year, you always have the person that you're going for, which is a part of the battle. But at the end of it, there's no hard feelings and there's nothing like that. It's just more like, okay, now in this moment when someone win and they claim victory, how do we work together, right? So that's how things will have to be moving forward, is how do we work with Dean Preston moving forward to unite the district in a productive way. So congratulations, Dean, on an amazing campaign. Any support that you may need, both sides of the conversations, would love to have a conversation with you, an in-depth conversation with Supervisor Dean Preston. District 7. Joel. And I got Joel. Who you have, Jada?
I do too, but I thought it was Myrna Melgar. I thought that's what it was. I mean, that's kind of what I had heard around social media, and I got super excited. But yeah, that's the same name that you said. That's what I see as well.
Yeah, that ranked choice vote. Well, let me look at the. Well, that's this. I can look at the results a little bit more and see. What is it? Let me see.
Rico, while you looking up that, you want me to go over some of the propositions that passed in the city?
Yeah, that'll be good.
So we know the mayor, London Breed, was going pushing behind Proposition A. Proposition A did pass, and that was about the homeless, the mental health, the park infrastructures, and the political support. So I think that was a good proposition. It's a $487 million bond to help out the people who are homeless and in need. I think that was a good proposition that passed. Proposition B, about public works, a lot of the public works stuff, just maintaining the streets, the sidewalks in San Francisco could be a problem. So that did pass as well. Proposition C, this was allowing immigrants without UNICEF to serve on boards and some of the city hall issues. So that passed. Proposition D, this is the one proposition that Shaman was backing. This was about the sheriff department oversight. I think that's a good proposition that passed. So congratulations to Shaman for pushing that, and that did pass. Proposition E passed. Um, police department, it put a restriction in their requirement for the police department to have so many at least 1,971 full off-duty officers. So I think that was a good one. The voters approved that one. Proposition F was the business tax structure that passed. I mean, that's supposed to be helping out the small business, so we'll see how that goes in the future. And then Proposition G passed. I'm happy to see that. I know DeAnthony talked about that a while ago, allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in local elections. They needed 51, and it did pass. So our young people will have a voice heard in the city of San Francisco. That's good to know. Proposition A.
No, sorry, actually, Prop G did not pass. Youth will not be able to vote in local
It
elections.
did not. It said yes, it passed here.
So 50.88% of people voted no. It did not vote. It did not pass.
Well, I got a bad article here. All right. Well, Proposition I then, Jada. Let me look at your resource. What did you get for Proposition I? It said it passed. The transfer tax property sales.
Yep.
Okay. So maybe they just had one wrong. So Proposition G did not pass. So our young people will not have a voice in the local elections. Sad to hear, but that got pushed down. Proposition
I think that's kind of terrible. Like, just in my honest opinion, I think that the youth voice, if it continues to be muted, will continue to end up in the same situations that we're in, with our politics not lining up with evolution, right? So like, evolution is the key to most principles, right? In how we evolve as humans and as we evolve as a country. In my honest opinion, we need young thought. And if we don't have the young thought to navigate through that process to support us with evolution and how things are evolving, we'll continue to have a mindset of our forefathers, right? Which is, it's kind of outdated, right? It's like when we talk about the school district and we talk about the curriculum and how old and outdated it is, like, it's only because the thought pattern is of individuals who are kind of outdated. They serve their course. And not saying that we don't need them. We definitely need their guidance in terms of mentorship. But I think that with youth voice, it'll help steer a lot of the modern day way of thinking, modern day of looking at things. So that's what I think that's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing that it didn't pass, because youth voice is important to help us in the next generation to kind of further themselves along even faster. I think like the evolution curve would be even faster. I think that the president should be any age, long as they're an adult, of course. But I don't think that, it should always be some old person. I think sometimes like we should have someone who's kind of youthful and have that mindset of, being able to think outside the box. So that's just my thought.
I completely agree, Rico. I was really disappointed when I found out that Prop G didn't pass. And I think there's a lot of fallacies that start to go around when we start talking about voting age of like, oh, well, they just have 2 more years, like just let them be. And that whole just attachment to like when you turn 18, something special is supposed to click in your brain that makes you be able to make decisions. And, I don't know, kind of strange. But yeah, that was really disappointing. And like you said, it's like, how can we advance? I think, like young people, we're always kind of, our faith is supposed to be in those who can vote, and it doesn't necessarily always tend to align with how we think of certain things, and that's a problem. So I think the trust of kind of like, I'm going to put my trust in you all who can vote to vote in favor of what could affect my future is kind of gone. And that's why it's like young people are more so like, excuse me, like, can I vote, please? Can I say something?
Right. And it's like, as an older person, my mindset is a little bit different than someone who's a little bit younger. So if I'm not in tune with the young generation, then whatever that is bright for their future most likely won't happen in their future. It's like whatever I'm dictating is gonna move forward. And then when it's finally time for their generation, then they'll be dictating for the next generation, and it'll continue to be off whack. But if we were to say, okay, youth voice is important, then it can combine those thoughts, and they can honestly steer their own future. And I think that that's part of the fear that folks have, is that with that it comes a lot of other things. It comes, young people, in my opinion, they are the fabric of change. So, and people are afraid of change. People don't want things to change I think people want things to change, but they want it at a pace that they're comfortable with. And anything that's kind of fast paced, it might change things. So John, that one is terrible, that, young people won't be able to have their voice heard. So
Yeah, I mean, it kind of angered me too. But I was talking to an older white gentleman last week about it, and I know he was voted no against it. But a lot of it too is the old people, especially white conservatives. They always fear that if we start letting kids vote, um, they look at the minority groups and say that the minority groups have a lot of kids, and they feel like, just being honest,
no,
it's
right.
stupid. I mean, it's really just kind of like ridiculous, but that's some of their perspective, right? They see like the minority groups in America growing faster. They feel like Black and Latinos have the most kids, overpopulating, and then they think in the future like, oh, if they having all these kids, these kids are going to be pushing the votes this way because they can vote. I mean, just it's weird stuff, but that's how people think. So it's kind of scary, but definitely as disappointed that our young people voice can't be heard, because we need that, right? We need to hear from them. We need to understand them so that we can base policy and make agendas that really affects, how their outcome of life is going to be. Let
No,
them have
right.
input on it. I mean, because our young people are involved. I just, like you said, Rico, I agree 100%. I think some of our older generation, some of our elders of the community, they just lost touch, and they don't believe in the young people because a lot of the stuff that's going on with young people. But like yesterday, me and Jada's out there, we feeding the homeless. There's a lot of kids, young people who care about the community, who care about people, that want to get involved, but they like, how do we get involved if no one give us a voice? So yeah, very disappointed to hear that. I really was excited because I thought it passed. I was looking at the list and it was showing everything it passed. So there was a typo, but okay.
Right, and I don't want to
Yeah,
dwell
no,
on this topic. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Rico.
I just have to say, like, and I always got to bring like both sides of the conversation. Like, we don't like a lot of times we don't really look at it for what things really is. Like this is a very historical election. Like, outside of Kamala Harris becoming vice president, like, this is the most individuals have ever voted in the United States of America, which means that the minority vote rules, right? So I look at it like, youth isn't just people of a certain age. Youth is individuals who are freshly getting involved, right? And have a fresh mind to learn and become educated on propositions and measures and all these different things. So we have a whole country who's awoke right now. So I got some other stuff around that, and I'm gonna wait till we get to the presidential election and talk more about like the bigger fabric of it. But I got a lot around that. So go ahead, Jada. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. The only other thing I was gonna say is another thing that kind of made me think about, like, made me even more angry when I heard that it didn't pass, was like, I think I'll say adults But like a lot of people tend to love when they see youth come together, but come together under what they consider to be permissible. Like, for example, when youth literally organized like in the thousands, 10,000s in front of like Mission High, and they were going through the city and they were protesting, in remembrance of, many individuals who we lost to police brutality. And everyone was like, oh my God, like, this is so amazing. The youth is everything. The youth is the change we need, this, and that. And they always shout that when we tend to organize around certain things. But then when it comes to things like this, it's like, oh, well, I like when you speak up, but I don't want you to speak all that much to have that much influence in politics necessarily. But I do like to see you go out and protest in these big groups and stuff like that. So it's like whatever is permissible for the general population, I feel like is what is okay.
So let's get back to D7, right? So I guess we was on D7 and it looked like she did win, huh? And how you pronounce her name, Jada? I don't want to chop and screw it up.
Now, I can't say for certain that I have right, but I believe it's Myrna Melgar.
Okay, and she's the winner. Congratulations. Looking forward to working with you and figuring out how both sides of the conversations can support you. We'll definitely love to have an in-depth conversation with District 7 Supervisor. I'm not going to chop and screw your name up. I'm just going to say it like that. In District 9, we have Hillary Ronan. She was running, no one was running against her, so she won 99.45% of the vote, which is good. So congratulations, Hillary. Looking forward to working with you also. We definitely need to get you on the spot, in-depth conversation with Hillary Ronan. Also, we have last district is District 11. That was Avalos versus Safai. And Safai is the winner with 48.5% of the vote. So congratulations to Asha Safai running an amazing campaign. Looking forward to working with you and having an in-depth conversation with District 11 Supervisor. So that's all the actual districts that I have. Do anybody else? Should I move on?
We can move on, but I wanted to also say, Selena Thomas, she was running for councilwoman down in Southern California. She didn't win, but she was really close. She did an amazing job. We support her, and we definitely going to keep working with her and on the next adventure that she has. But she didn't make it, but good run, good race. The brother in Vallejo, Hakeem Brown, he lost the mayor race in Vallejo, California by a short margin. I think he lost it by 1,200 votes. And that's why we always encourage people to get out there and vote. He could have been the new mayor, but he was 1,200 votes short. So just goes to show you how important it is, how tight these races are getting.
All right, and I think, did we finish? We didn't finish going through the props in the city, right? I believe we left off at
We left off at I. That's the proposition that passed that Dean Preston had introduced with property tax. That one did pass.
Okay.
Yeah, the last one was Proposition H.
You said H?
Yeah, H. I believe this passed. This is the streamlined permit process for businesses and stuff. So I think that passed. Now I gotta have Jada fact check because now I'm scared this thing got the wrong.
No, I'm scared too. I'm seeing certain things like okay. Right. Jay, what are you reading for Jay?
So Jay, it says that it passed.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Proposition J was a 288 parcel tax that would generate about $48 million. San Francisco Unified School Districts. I think that's important. We need to support our teachers, our educational professionals. Proposition K, it said that approved. Voters approved a measure that will allow San Francisco to build and fix up 10,000 units of affordable housing. I think that's a good proposition. I'm glad that passed. We know in the Bay Area, especially in San Francisco, to afford housing is ridiculous. So there'll be an opportunity.
Do you have Proposition E?
Yeah. Oh, we did not do Proposition E. Yeah, we
No,
didn't do that.
no, I did do that. It
Oops.
approved. Proposition.
Yes.
That was the first one I did about the police officers.
Okay.
Yeah, so that one approved, and then the last one was Proposition L. They wanted to do the CEO tax. That would tax company executives more. I think that passed as well, right? Proposition L.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, a lot of these
Yes.
CEOs they come to San Francisco, they making millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they paying like no taxes or
Mhm.
low taxes. And definitely, we need these corporations to do their fair share as well. So, look like that proposition passed. So that's all of the San Francisco propositions. If you guys want to jump into the state ones, we could talk about a few of those if you guys want.
Mhm.
I know the big one, Proposition 22 passed. It was yes on 22, it passed. So that gig workers are still going to be labeled as independent contractors. So we'll see how that turned out in the future. I know a lot of people said they voted yes on it because they got uh, they didn't understand the wording of it. I heard a lot of people say I thought yes was for that, but so I guess some people got confused on it. They say, but it passed. So gig workers will still be independent contractors. They can work any schedule they want. And I guess there are some things in that measure that they will change, as far as minimum wage and some kind of business health insurance or something. So
Mhm. Yeah.
the rent control did not pass. I know a lot of people was going to vote on it. Yes, they wanted people to have rent control, and I think no pass. So basically, there will be no rent control. So landlords and tenants will be increasing rates. What it look like it's going to be.
Well, that one is a little tricky though, because it's like there still can be rent control enforced, but local governments like can't establish it on properties that I believe is like 15 years
Yeah.
or 15 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can, but now it's kind of like I would say almost limited.
Right, right. So yeah, they gonna make money now. I mean, they're gonna jack up the rents. I mean, that's just what it is. When these type of propositions pass, I mean, you could expect these landlords to start increasing their rates. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, especially with COVID-19 going on.
Now, Jada, if you could look up Proposition 17, I didn't see that was the voter
Yes,
restoration. It
that
passed.
passed. Yes, it
Okay,
did.
okay. I thought it did, but I was like, I was tripping out for some reason. So
Yeah.
parolees will be able to vote in the future elections. Parole people on probation or parole will be able to vote. So that did pass. Okay,
Mhm.
and
And
then
another one, oh,
okay,
sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, Jada.
Prop 25, to approve replacing cash bail, the cash bail system that did not pass. That was interesting, but it did not pass.
So
People still have to come up with money to bail out, then, right?
yeah, that one I was kind of confused about. I mean, I wasn't confused, but I kind of didn't know which way was the way. So you have cash bail, and then they saying that they want some system to kind of um, to calculate if you are eligible. When I think that a lot of these systems that's created is off whack anyway. So I didn't think that the system that was actually created around it or for it was something that I could guarantee that it would be a fair share for everyone. So
And what does that look like? I mean, do they say, "Hey, we're going to look at your total income and take a 1/4% of it for your bail"? Or I mean, like, how do you do that? You know what I mean? Is it like I still don't. I got to look into that more. I mean, that's one of the things I wanted to look into because I still don't understand the bail system. Like, where do they come up with these numbers? How do they come up with these numbers? When we know most of these people who are doing crimes are coming from low economic social backgrounds. You know what I mean? It's like very rarely the top percent of people are in these situations. So if we're making a system that affects people from this low income, how do we adjust or how do we understand what does it cost to bail? Right? Especially given the fact that we have all this technology now, right? Because I know one of the biggest things they always say people flight risk, but now we have like GPS monitoring, we have all this technology that they use to track people down. I mean, they track us down with cell phones and everything else, artificial intelligence. I mean, so now that we really have a better way to track people, how I'm gonna look more into it to see how do we affect that now with the bail cost, because we know it's poor people. So how do you charge a poor person for something minor, $10,000 or $20,000 to bail out, and they can't even afford it? So yeah, I want to look a little bit more into that. I'm sorry to hear that didn't pass. But I know Kostler talked about that a couple of weeks ago. The flip side, if it would have passed, that we also have to remember that now we're putting those decisions in judges and DA prosecutors' hands as well. So it's kind of like a both sides of the conversation situation. It was like good one way, bad the other way, or I don't know. But y'all want to look more into that and get a little bit more involved with that and see, how that affect. And then Jada, Proposition 20, that was bringing back higher prison spending and extreme sentences for minor crimes. Did that pass? I know everybody was saying no on it. It was
Yes,
no.
that did not pass.
Okay. Oh wow. So they're gonna still be giving people 25 years for a slice of pizza if they steal it.
On what? On Prop 20?
Prop 20, yeah. Because Prop 20 was supposed to eliminate the extreme sentencing for minor crimes. Especially when it came to like 3-strike laws and different stuff like that. So if it didn't pass, so that means they still will be giving people 25 years for stealing a slice of pizza.
Like the 3-strike law.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, that prop also involved like DNA collection for specific misdemeanors. And I know there was a lot of kind of conversation on that, like what implications that can even have. Like, is that actually something that we would want? There was that was a part of it.
And
yeah,
the misdemeanors, making some of them felonies if they
right.
were like done in so many times in
Right.
terms. Yeah, so
that's pretty scary to me. We all, in San Francisco in the Bay Area, period. We have a big problem with car burglaries, right? People breaking people windows, breaking cars. I mean, do we really want to give these people felonies? I mean, do we really want to waste our tax dollars because they broke into a window? Yeah, I understand people's properties are being stolen, things of that nature. I mean, I've had my car broken into like 6 or 7 times. It sucks. It's a cost. It's frustrating as me. But do I really want to see somebody go to jail for 50 years or 20 years for doing that? No. I think we need to figure out how we can put money in educating our community, educating these people, getting them help. I mean, a lot of these people are going to these crimes because they just can't, for whatever reason, get an opportunity. So how do we invest money in giving these people opportunity to make income so that they're not doing these petty crimes?
But John and Rico, jump in if your understanding of this is different. But the way that I'm understanding it is since it did not pass, there will not be stricter parole and sentencing.
right.
So there won't be. Right. Yeah. Thing. Okay.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I said. I said if it would have passed, it would have been changing the law around certain misdemeanors and stuff like that. Like, I didn't agree with that one at all. It looked good. I mean, so like with a lot of these propositions, I think that where our people get confused at is there's the pros and cons of it. And if you don't have someone like Bivette or Joffrey, individuals that I could just name off the top of my head who like really study this stuff to help guide you, or to at least be like doing what they do, like in educating the community around it. Like sometimes like we get lost because the framing of it sound good, but if you ain't diving into it, then you really don't know, like, you like, what the heck this mean? Or you might just vote on it because of, what it says initially, so yeah. So yeah, I think that was good that one didn't pass. But I did want to switch over to proposition, I don't know if John mentioned it, 16.
No, I didn't mention Proposition 16. Did it pass?
Proposition 16,
it did not.
It did not.
So Proposition 16 was it would allow the state of California to consider race and gender with the goal of eliminating discrimination in state contracts, hiring, and college administrations. So that's bad. That's like if they went no on it, that means these large college institutions will still practice in their same behavior, right? State contracts, we'll still deal with it. I mean, one of the problems with the contracting is black and brown people are being left out every day when it comes to these contracts and getting into these colleges, right?
Right.
This proposition by not passing just really empower those people to continue their discriminatory practices, right? Am I saying it right? Okay. Yeah, so you know,
Terrible.
terrible. And that's the thing that I'm telling people. Now that we have a president, vice president, like I mean, these are the type of issues that we have to tackle as a community. We can't just go show up at record numbers to vote for this national election and forget about the day-to-day stuff that's going on, the local propositions, the local elections. I mean, this stuff is important. I mean, here it is, we in 2020 and we still have these type of policies that people agree with. So it just goes to show you the country we live in. I mean, even with this presidential election, it was still too close. So it just goes to show you where we at as a country. We still divided. These old ideologies, this slave um, ruling that they have on our over the people is still happening, man. So we still got a lot of work, and I think that's why it's important to have the young people involved because our young people is really who invoke change. They have the energy, we have the brains, and we need to let them get in and do some of the work. So
Right. And I would just add to that, I think specifically this is like one of the propositions that I would love to have youth voice in terms of like, and in terms of Prop 16 specifically, just from like a college student perspective. I think in terms of like the UC system, like for example, their practices in terms of enrollment is very poor when it comes to diversity. It's a lot better than other places, the UC system, than some of the state systems that exist in other states, but it definitely could be a lot better. And the way in which they do enroll students has always resulted in less and less minority people. So this is something that I would have loved to have youth input on, because this can literally make a difference in terms of their college admissions. And that's huge. That's really huge for us.
definitely, we should reach out to some of the college student unions and have a conversation about this. I mean, because this is huge, and I think sometimes people don't really think about this stuff. I mean, this is huge when it comes to like, you know, all kind of financial support for the schools, um, and just getting into them. I mean, it's already a challenge just to get into some of these elite colleges, being black and brown. So, I mean, it's hard to get into USC. It's hard to get into UC Davis. It's hard to get into some of these UC systems and state colleges. So, yeah, this is going to affect our young people. You're right, Jada. This is a conversation that we need to continue to have, because this is something that's going to, hinder a lot of people, especially when it comes to the city and state contracts. As we promote people to start their businesses. If the biggest thing to small businesses, state and federal contracts. And if you are not able to get those or fairly negotiate for those, I mean that just sets definitely we got to follow up with that one.
And I think while we're on the topic of youth, we can also jump to Prop 18 that was allowing age 17 primary voters. That did not pass either. So another one where that was kind of a loss for youth. Yeah. So 17-year-olds who will be 18 at the time of the next general election to vote in primary elections and special will not be able to vote.
That's terrible.
It's terrible. I mean, again, going back to what we said earlier, our elders do not value our young people. And I think that's what we're trying to change moving forward here in the future. I know that's what we about here at both sides of the conversation with our mentoring group and trying to mentor our young people. But now it's like, how do we bridge that gap? And I mean, I think that's what this conversation today was about, following up after the election, but also how do we unite the community, right? How do we bridge the gap of division between young people and old people? And I think Uncle Stank, we had a good conversation about that, trying to get a conversation with the young G's and the OGs, but just on a broader level, how do we get our young people interacting and engaged with some of our seniors and some of the elders of the community? Because I think really to really invoke change and push things forward, that dialogue, that conversation, that interaction is going to have to happen moving forward. And
I mean, like John, it's like even go back to like when we talk about like diversity, right? So you have like diversity, it covers class, it covers sex, it covers age, it covers race, it covers ethnicity, it covers religion. So like a part of the diversity of California and the diversity of San Francisco or the diversity of our nation, youth isn't a part of the diversity. like how we're saying we're diverse and youth doesn't count, right? But like I think that's something that needs to happen on state and local levels is like adding youth to the diversity bracket, right? And having their own bucket, because when we look at sex and gender specific, right? So you have things that like women is a bucket within itself, right? Transgender is a bucket within itself, or LGBTQ community is a bucket within itself, and it represents a voice. And I don't think young people have that. I think when people think young people, they think college students and up, right? Or someone who just graduated. When I don't think that that's a pure representation of youth voice. I think that youth need their own bucket that represents them on all levels. So that's my stance on it. I hear some of the young men on our young men's group and some of the conversations Nate has had with the young people, Nate Ford with Requity, and their minds are just brilliant. I mean, like their minds are just brilliant, and for those brilliant minds to be muted, I think that it does a disservice to as a country and as a nation for us to continue to overlook them, because like everyone gets a voice. There's so many places that has been sued because, you know, a certain bracket or a certain voice wasn't represented. So I tell all young people, we might need to have to start a class action lawsuit if we can't get youth voice represented in the state of California.
I agree. I think, and I think you made a really good point when you said, like, you know, I think a lot of people do think that youth is like, you know, college and above, like that kind of, which in reality, if you actually look at the breakdown, that is considered TAY, you know, transitional age youth. That's what I am, like 18 to 24, 25, I think it is. And then below that is just, I believe, like labeled as youth. You can get specific on your own, but like, yeah, that's actually youth. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because like Jade, I think part of it is just it goes back to John's point of the fear that, you know, people have is like if you're grooming young people to be educated around policies, around propositions, around elections, the results is what we got here in this election, right? So, you know, I mean, I think that it like in a moment in our country, like we in a space where, you know, we have to kind of just like think differently. And I always use this phrase, reimagine, and reimagine everything in a different way. I know it's going to be a lot of fear out there. I know change, it provokes fear, but fear is always false evidence of things appearing real. So, you know, there's no evidence to that, you know, youth don't or wouldn't have a great voice or wouldn't vote for something that's proper if we don't try. So I think that we definitely have to try and give them that opportunity. But great point, John, on how, you know, folks are just that fear, that fear, I have 4 children. So, you know, I always want their voices to be heard. And that's just something that I do as a parent, and making sure that their voice is raised, even when it's things that's wrong, or that they not wrong, but things that they don't understand, like how I understand because I'm a little older, I've experienced things, but allowing them to go through the experience and then making it a teachable moment is really, really key when you're dealing with youth. Not just shutting them down, saying, no, that ain't gonna work. Just because it didn't work for us, that don't mean that. It mean, okay, let me allow them to go through this process. And if it doesn't work, now I can give them the learning experience of it, because it might work for them. And it, you know, just because it didn't work for me. So I'm pretty sad about the whole youth thing. So, and y'all, I know y'all probably can tell, because
Yeah,
I'm kind of dwelling on it, but
no, it's frustrating, man. But it has a lot to do with fear, you know. And old people feel like, hey, we don't want to leave these decisions to young people because they don't care about us. And that's why I think it's very important that we find a way to unite our young people with the older generation. And that's why I'm big on making sure that our youth in our program and other youth are involved with senior homes, um, involved with the elderly, involved with giving back to the community, because that's how you start to bridge that gap, right? I mean, if older people, you know, they raise different, so they based off principles and actions and things of that nature. And when they see the young people care and are getting engaged, you know, that helps that perception. So definitely, it's work that's needed. But again, to make change. I mean, and in California, a lot of these measures that didn't pass that I was surprised on. Also, as a California resident, no matter what part you in, Northern or Southern California, because of the tech industry, because of the gentrification, because we have all these people from different parts of the United States coming to California to reside in, look how much has changed. I mean, some of these propositions over the years, back in the days, would have passed easily, right? So this left progressive coast that we're presumed as very liberal is not so liberal anymore. So that's just something that we have to remember as gentrification is happening, as the changes are happening, these different industries are coming to California. There's different ideals, different people. So this liberal left progression is not all California now. It's starting to change. You can see it in the way people are voting, in the way these a lot of these propositions. So it's just something to be mindful, and that's why it's important for people to get engaged. You know, it always frustrates me when I hear this is a record-breaking show out of the Black and brown community for a national presidential election, but we don't have the same type of effect when it comes to local and city elections. So I hope all this energy that people have now, we can use this and stay energized to deal with the local stuff that's affecting us day to day with our mayors, with our governors, with some of the local taxes and propositions that affect us day to day. I hope people have the same energy to get out there for those propositions and things and those elective stuff when they come up, because it's important. And that's the only way we can really make changes. We have to get involved. And I'm also hoping too, Rico, and I know we spoke about this before. Um, I hope the united front that we have with our allies and the Black and brown community don't stop now because we have Kamala Harris as the vice president, Joe Biden as the Democratic president. One of the nastiest things that people took apart or disliked about the Trump administration is what united people, and that fired people up and that got people engaged. And I just don't hope that we take our foot off the gas now and go, oh, okay, we got a Democratic president, we got a woman vice president, everything is going to be okay, because it's not. You know, this is just the start of the fight. So I want people to stay energized and get involved with the community and what's going on, because now this is just the start of like more stuff that's going to be coming. And we just need people to stay engaged, you know, and as a community, Black and brown community, we need to continue to unite, and we definitely got to stop all of this violence, man. I mean, this weekend was a tragic, violent weekend. A couple of rappers were killed, a lot of shootings. I mean, now we got to start as a Black and brown community. And okay, this presidential thing is over. How do we start building our communities back and making them safe for our young people and our seniors? How do we stop some of this violence? Like now we need to start shifting our energies to supporting our communities and making them safe and making them better. So I hope with this being over with now, we can start moving forward to our local communities and making them better.
Yeah, John, like Jed, if you can pull up the numbers for me from the Senate and the House and the presidential, so we can, I mean, we in the next, or we're phasing into the next hour, and I think that this is a moment where we can start having that conversation. It goes like, John, like people really thought that me and you was like pro-Trump supporters. I'm not a Trump supporter at all, but I still like to look at things in reality, and I still like to look at things from a different lens. Regardless of what you think, I like to look at things from a different lens, because I don't always want to look at my lens, because my lens might need wiping, or it might be distorted or whatever. And that's what I would always ask people, that question, is that in this moment that we're in with what happened to George Floyd, and having a president who represents the racism of America, right? In this moment, is it best to keep him in office as we stand united? Or is it best for us to get a Joe Biden and a Kamala Harris? Because it tends to happen that when we get a Democratic president, we sleep. It's the honest truth. It has happened over and over and over. That's why people always say, what did Obama do for Black people? He couldn't do nothing for Black people. He couldn't do nothing. What could he have done? I mean, he had a Congress, I mean a Senate, or I think it was a Senate that was all Republican, that rejected every last thing that he brought to the table. So I think, like, you know, and I only say that to just say, you know, like in this moment, like no matter what, like we have to just stand united and still make our demands, because we're not in the clear. You know, okay, we got what we wanted. Now let's get what we really want: justice, equality, a fair share of of the fabric of the United States. We help build the country. Why we can't get a piece of the quilt, right? That we help sew together. So you know, I think you raise a great point, John, and that's my only fear, is that, you know, as we have united, you see more Black people doing more amazing things. You see people coming together, is that, you know, folks, you know, that just might cease. You know, and I pray, I'm very optimistic that it probably won't, but that's just one of my fears. My fears is that that might happen.
Exactly. And you know, all of the women in our group and people that's out there watching, I mean, we had a lot of women going back and forth. This is a good time to come up here and talk and tell us, like, what do you think? How do you feel Kamala Harris is going to affect us? Because a lot of people opposing, a lot of people pushing. We want to hear from you. Come up and join us and let's talk about it, because there's some issues that gotta be addressed. You know, and like I said, Rico, I know the Senate seat is 48-48. They close to figuring that out. But I mean, if the Democratic Party get all three branches, the House, the presidency, the House, and Congress, they should be able to overthrow a lot of the bills. You know, but again, I was reading an article today from Ocho Acacia, the senator lady from New York, Cortez. There's a big problem in the Democratic Party. Okay, there's so much division, you know, and this goes back to our conversation a few minutes ago about the young and the old. You know, how do we let our young senators and Congress people come on and listen to their ideals? You know, and I know one of the Democratic people was talking about in the future, for future elections or future things, the Democratic Party need to stop using the words of socialism and certain things because that take away votes. But I mean, I don't know, this progressive thing. I mean, it's a division, man. So again, how do we unify? You know, we're about radical unity over here. How do we get unity? The DNC has been causing so much of this division. I just hope that the party could do something. It's more than just getting Trump out and not cleaning the house, right? You gotta be able to clean the in house. And a Democratic Party, they got a mess, man. They got a
Hey,
mess.
yo, it's like 3 to 4 different gangs within the gang, right? So you got like socialist, progressive, moderate, and they all beef within each other. Like that, like that's crazy. So it only continues to divide the actual party. So like say a place like San Francisco, where it's made up of only Democrats, you got socialists and progressives beating down the moderates when you all are supposedly on the same side, right? So then you get an individual who, like Bernie, who represents socialism, and or someone who's a little bit different in that place, wherever you're at, you're going to go against that person because that person might not go with your politics, right? But that might be the person who's good for the country. So I think like a lot of that split and that division stuff, it causes more issues. You know what I'm saying? Like what's the medium? Like like for example, with the Republicans, right? You either right or far right, right? Like either like you're conservative or super conservative, right? But for the common good of the party, they meet in the middle. It's like a middle ground where it's like, okay, I'm Republican, period. With I don't see that within the Democratic Party. It's more like I'm left, in the middle, far left, and then they stand on whatever principles that is. And it's no meeting in the middle to say, you know what's the common ground to work together so that we can be as one. So I don't
But
see it. I might be wrong though.
But I think also that this is kind of what we were like touching on last week, where it's like, if there is so much division within a single party, I mean, doesn't that already kind of show you that there should not just be two, that we should be limited to? And I think that's where the discussion of how much influence and control does simply the DNC and the RNC have on how we can change that. Because I mean, of course, if we all like, if all of us agree, okay, maybe it shouldn't just be Democratic or Republican, maybe there should be more. Of course, that's not going to be an easy thing to just change. Like, I think that's something that the RNC and DNC could both agree on. Like, no, we can't let that happen. Like, it has to remain the way it is now. Like, it has to be two parties. That's not going to be an easy fight. And to your point, Rico, yeah, like, for example, I think with Bernie Sanders, that was that was also interesting, because I know for sure, like, a lot of people around me who I was talking to at that time when he was running, and I was like, oh, did you ever consider Bernie? And they were like, no. And I was like, well, why not? I was like, he seems like maybe he could be a good choice. Well, he's not saying that he's, Democratic. He's saying that he's socialist, and he's not tying himself down to something that even is, that's a problem. That's a problem, that, like, we can't think a little beyond just like Democratic, and we also can't think a little beyond just Republican. But how do we go about changing that? That's also going to be an uphill battle. But I think it is something that's necessary. And I think this is where we also get into the topic all the time with election season, where we go, someone wants to vote Green Party or independent. They want to vote something other than that. And then there's always people that are telling them, you shouldn't do that because that's throwing away your vote. And like, because it doesn't really necessarily hold anything. How do we change that? Like, how can we actually work towards that? Because I'm sorry, but I believe that the DNC, RNC is not going to want to approve that at all. They're not going to want to move away from that.
Well, I mean, I think, Jared, what it really comes down to, and I know like it will be an uphill battle, but how do you claim independence, right? I think that it goes all the way back to the Emancipation Proclamation, when they said you're free, and thousands of them left, and then the same thousand that left came back and said, Master, I need your support. Master, I ain't ready to go, right? That's the same. No, I mean, I know that's how my mind think. I'm sorry, I don't want to offend nobody out there, but this is how my mind think. So like, that's what it is, even with the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, is that we can gain independence. That's not the problem. We have the numbers. Like this vote have proven that we have the numbers. But do we want to walk away from Master's table? That's really the main thing. Are we willing to walk away from the DNC and the RNC and say, you know what? We creating an independent party from y'all party. We still want to collaborate. We still want to work.
Don't you also agree that it depends on popularity? We could, let's say, for example, we had enough people that was like, you know what, I'm not going to vote Democratic. I'm not going to vote Republican. I'm going to vote, let's just say, Green Party. Do you think that they're actually going to have a chance standing against the Republican or Democratic side?
Well, I think that they won't have a chance in 10 years, 12 years, they won't have a chance. Mm-hmm. But on that 12th year, the party would have grown so much.
Right, exactly.
Then they'll become a powerhouse, right? So I think that, of course, like, it'll be rejection, it'll be all this. I mean, it don't even have to be the Green Party or Libertarian or all the other ones. It can be the minority party, where we're saying, you know what, all minorities need to be a part of this party, and we're going to represent all minorities in this fashion. Young people, and we're not going to call ourselves all this different stuff. We're going to represent free thought, and we're going to let folks be who they are. Be you. That's all we saying. Be you, but we want justice, right? And we're a justice party, right? So we're saying, as a party, you can be who you are, but we're looking for justice for all minorities, right? So, of course, it's going to be hard because the first thing that you need in order to create a new independent party is money, right? So it'll be an uphill battle, but we have the numbers to become independent. I just want folks to know that we have the numbers to say, you know what, I don't want to do this, right? Because I noticed that, you know, we align ourselves with whatever's popular, right? Like there was never no such thing as um progressive. I mean, it was, right? Of course, but then progressives just start getting popular, right? I think maybe in the last 12 years, so to say, that it's been like super, super, super push, progressive, 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 progressive. Now this progressive socialist thought is now super popular and people are pushing, and then you find people start aligning themselves not based on the politics but based on the power, right? So if the socialist movement have a lot of people attracted to it, that's where the money is going, right? So now you have all these Bernie people aligning themselves with the party only because their agenda, right? So their agenda might eventually want to be a supervisor, might want to be something. So they align themselves with those different parties because of the financial backing that they have, opposed to the moral value that they have, right? So that's what from what I noticing, a lot of it is carrying. It's not really carrying any value far as, oh, I'm just a Democrat. It's more about the financial backing that they both carry.
Yeah, I mean, but one of the other things we talked about last week with Neil is the electoral process, right? And then what about term seating? Is you could have all of the votes. We had the popular vote, and it didn't do anything when Hillary was elected, right? So see, to really change, you got to really change. So the electoral process has to be revamped and overhauled and reformed first.
Completely agree.
Yeah, so that people can have their vote, because technically your vote really doesn't count as an individual vote. You know what I mean? Because of the electoral process. So definitely there needs to be some change. I mean, if people want a different outlook, get something different, we're going to have a major haul in America. And which party is ready to do it? Rich ready party to fight? I agree with P Diddy. He said we should start a black party. Yeah, but it doesn't make sense if the original laws of the land are not changed. And this is what I keep telling people. And I know they call me radical, but the Constitution has to be looked at. We as the people have to vote on this. Can this, we evolve now. We can't look at documents from years and hundreds of years ago and apply that to the day. Nothing stays the same, right? These federal judge seats, I mean, they still talking about the count. Now you got all these people that's been appointed by Donald Trump who might have to deal with recounts or whatever, right? So this is why I tell people it's very important to pay attention to what's going on. And I think term seeking is one way to attack it, but also the internal process of the voting process needs to be revamped. It needs to be overhauled. And again, that's my issue with some of the allies, these different foundations, Black Lives Matter Foundation as a foundation, not as a slogan. A lot of these people who align themselves with the minority community, they give me issues. They make my blood pressure raise up because they're not really fighting for a true Black and brown agenda, right? They get in there and they pick at little things that help what they're trying to do, but it really don't help our people, right? Instead of spending all this money and emphasis to get people in positions to deal with police brutality, we need that same energy to like, hey, let's change how these people can appoint people. Let's change deal with the real systemic racist issues in America. And until those allies, until those foundations get the money in the back and to support the real issue to break up systemic racism, I think we still gonna be dealing with this, whether it's 20 years from now, 30 years from now.
Hey, I 100% agree with you. I mean, that's like that's stuff that, it goes back even to the youth vote, right? I mean, Biden is how old? 73?
Yeah, he's up there in age. He's not a young man.
I think he like 73. I think. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I think he's 73. Jada, can you check?
No, he's 77.
Okay, so the point I'm trying to make to that is that I'm 37. I'm 37, right? He's 40 years older than me. Is that accurate, Jada? Okay, so he's 40 years older than me with a 40-year-old thought pattern. How far behind is he for real, for real?
Oh,
No.
by a lot. I mean,
Huh?
yeah, by a lot. I mean, and this is why I always have an issue with that. I'm 41. The way I think now versus the way I thought when I was 20 years old, or some of my young people, it's a total different thought process.
Right.
My principles, my values now that I have at 41 is totally different than 21.
Right.
But now you're talking about not only 77, he's 20 years ahead of me. What is his thought process? How would I be thinking at 77? It's a total disconnect, right?
Right. And then it goes by even the year, John.
Right.
You were 80s baby.
I'm 79.
Okay, 79, but you know what I'm saying, man.
Year.
So like during the time you was growing up is way different than the time of right now. Right. Now imagine the time when he was coming up.
It was totally different.
In the ideology that they was instilling in his environment. So now at 77, that thought process has completely changed. Right. That moral value has completely changed.
If anything, it got intensified.
Right. So the point I'm trying to make is it goes back to what you were saying. Like a lot of this stuff got to change, and it starts with youth voice. It starts with justice, equality, and freedom for all. You know, it goes all the way back to that, and us reimagining how we look at our country.
I think.
Oh, go ahead, Jada.
Yeah. The thing that I'll add is I think that's one of the things that at least kind of gives me like some type of hope. It is now with more voters, I hope that more people can get more involved in whichever way that they see fit. Because I know I think you, John, or Rico mentioned it earlier, but the fact that like not everybody's at the same place. Like there's some people who are just now entering kind of the whole having to go out and vote, and like they're only focusing on the president. And then hopefully they will understand, okay, so maybe next time when I go, I can start to look at, local legislation. Then they can also start saying, okay, so let me try and get an understanding of this, the Senate versus the House. What does that mean? What does this mean? And then in doing that, you can start to identify where maybe some things went wrong. Understanding what exactly is the Electoral College? How was that founded? Was that a good thing when it was first created versus is it working now? Like these can all provoke thought in a lot of people if they take advantage of it. And that's why I do love initiatives like on Facebook. I know like everyone saw possibly how Facebook was giving us updates and giving us rundowns of the Electoral College and stuff like that on the app. It's like literally at your fingertips trying to educate you on like, this is what the Electoral College is and this is what this means in terms of your vote. So I think this is also a good time to, again, yes, keep people engaged and push them further to really understand things and understand how it can change as well.
Yeah, and one of the Democratic leaders was on TV this morning. I was watching that as well for a little while, and they was talking about how the DNC is like so behind, so behind when it comes to digital media, digital marketing, and they were saying how
like the DNC or the RNC?
No, the DNC.
Oh,
yeah. So one of the Democrats that was on there this morning was saying how like they are behind, basically saying like they're not using digital media. They're using the old tactics, how to get people out to vote. And she was saying that, they need to start being more advancement, but to advance and get into technology, you got to let young people in there to know, you know what I mean? That's all I'm trying to say. But it's funny that on a counterpart side, they said this year, this election time, the Republican Party had used a lot of technology to help get people awareness what to vote for, who to vote for. I mean, but it was like I was reading Mitch McConnell won his seat, and I think like it's just crazy. These people have been holding their seats forever, right? And it's like term seating is needed. It's just needed, like because we can't get these old ideals out. I mean, and it's true. you look at the Republican Party and it's a bunch of old white men, right? And they're like holding on to their values and they hold on to their principle of conservatism. But I think the only way to have a fair political process is like Rico, you Jada said, like it got to be young people and we have to change it. Because then both parties will look more like a minority with different women and men. But you got the Republican Party is like all men, all old white men. How do you think they think? You know? So how do we get the young Republican youth in there to have a different ideal and make it more of a you know, I don't know. I just think we at a crossroad where now it's like we really got to hold our political people together on things, especially in the Black and brown community. We got to start finding a way that we could come together, sign measures, get petitions. We got to hold them to the fire this time. And, you know, we just can't have all these people voting for this one time and then they disappear. Because that, like Rico said, that tends to happen and it kills us every time. You know, I mean, we have to keep the same energy, this togetherness, this fight, this protest, all the stuff that we're doing. We got to continue this through to get the change we want. And I think we're starting, but again, like you said, Jada, we got to engage the young people and the old people to break down this. I don't know if it's comfortability, Rico. I was thinking about that earlier when I was talking. Has our older generation of people just become so comfortable that they're afraid to pass the torch? Because Jada, we deal with this all the time in the community as well. You know, the older leaders don't want to pass the torch to the younger people and get behind them and support them. And I don't know if it's the fear that they think the young people are going to forget about them. I don't know if it's the publicity or the recognition. Um, I think finances for in the church realm plays a big part of it. We talked to them about that. But how do we get the older people to understand that the young people want to support you guys, but they want to take the lead? You know, there's a lot of leadership that we have just in the San Francisco Bay Area that it's time to pass the torch on all levels, from the churches, from the community to the politics. There's some torches that need to be passed, you know. And how do we make our elders of the community willing to work with the young people, willing to pass the torch so that we can move forward? And I think that should be like our conversation moving forward as a community. You know, how do we unite and get our young and old people to sit to the table and you know, get behind each other and push forward, because the future is not waiting for none of us, and the time is steady ticking every day. But Rico, let's take a few minutes to just really talk about, you know, how you feeling about, you know, Kamala Harris, this first VP of lady. I want to get Jada thoughts. You know, I mean, this is a historic time. You know, we had a historically first time we had a black president, now black VP. That's a woman. You know, we put beside the goods and bads of her. You know, let's just focus on, hey, we have a woman of African descent here, you know, making progress. I know this may infect some of our mayors, like London Breed, some of the women in DC. I mean, how is this going to affect us now? You know, Kamala Harris was really politically tied with a lot of our women leaders in America right now. And what does this look like for the women in the future? You know, we always hear women talking about women power, women unity. How do you women feel about this? I mean, this is a historic day. So um, I just want to get you guys' thought. What are you feeling about this? I don't know, Jada, you gonna go first, or you gotta unmute yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said earlier, I think it's again, as you said, it's very historical. It's very important in terms of representation. Um, it's it's crazy to think about, but I do say that with caution in terms of how do you say it? Like we can't. We just left behind what we left behind. It's gone now. Okay. Um, but don't want that to be followed up by such a historical event that kind of makes people go, oh, we did it again. Now racism is gone, you know, like we have a woman, and you know, sexism, it doesn't exist because look, we have a woman that's the vice president. Like, no, we cannot, we cannot fall into that. So of course, again, in terms of representation, super important. But we can't fall into that whole thing again, especially after what we just left behind.
Yeah, I mean that's deep, and I know that all the AKAs are happy out there. I know they all running around here. They got their coats on and they got their swag on. So all the AKAs out there, how y'all feeling about y'all VP, man? Let us know. Rico, what you want to say, Rick?
I just want to say, just based on the principles and in my higher teachings, whenever there's a woman involved, it's always hope. That's just how I was raised and that's how I was taught. Women are the nurturers of the land, the nurturers of all life. And, just according to how I was taught and how I think that things are promising for us. When we look across the nation, when it comes to women of color, they're kind of like ruling the nation. I mean, I know it's hidden and a lot of people don't really talk about it, but they're the ones that's making the engine kind of go. So I remember saying that a long time ago, maybe like 10 years ago. I said it's going to take the women of our community to rise above the patriotism that happens in our community in order for it to really heal. And it happened, right? We end up getting a Cheryl Davis, we end up getting a London Breed, we end up getting all these amazing women, Shakira. I mean, like I can go on and on and on and on. Like women that's in San Francisco, like that's really, really nurturing the community and trying to bring the community back to some type of normality or some type of sanity. So anytime there's a woman involved, I think that, you know, um, it's very hopeful. It's very, very, very hopeful because, women, they give birth, you know what I'm saying? And they like, they know how to nurture things. They see things in a different light than how men do. So I think we're very promising. I think that he has a good choice with him, that can help steer him along the way. So, congratulations to them. And, I think we're in a good space. As Californians, I think we're in a good space. As San Franciscans, we're in a good space, you know. Um, so that's my thoughts. I think we good. I think we good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I concur with you guys. I'm happy. For me being a father to a daughter and a father to a grandfather to my young granddaughter. I mean, it's always a blessing. I mean, I saw the impact of just London Bree going to my daughter's job and taking a picture with my daughter. Right, like the to see her eyes and her enthusiasm. Like, oh my God, Dad, that's the mayor. She's like, she's a woman and she's doing this. Um, I think it's amazing. So, to see Kamala Harris, I mean, you got the mayor of Atlanta, Keisha, we got the sister in Chicago, we got the sister in DC.
Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, Stacey Abrams. I mean, it's a powerful thing to see. I just would like to see them unite. I mean, this is gonna be interesting to see how Kamala Harris and Biden um put their cabinet together. I think it's gonna be amazing to see because there's a potential for some great Secretary of State, some great women that they could put in there, a new Attorney General. There's some different things that they could really do to impact this country if they plan right and organize right. But I think we have some amazing sisters in power in a position that could really affect this country in a way if they come together. And I think it's important. And I hope Joe Biden does take the advice from Obama and Kamala Harris and you know take those ideals and run with it. And I mean, shout out to the sister Simone, man. The sister Simone that was running their campaign, man. Let me tell you, that's a bad sister right there, man. She went through a lot, and she took a lot of heat, when things was going on, and they were saying, certain things was happening behind the scenes, and she's a powerful sister too, man. Her and it's a couple of those sisters that come on CNN. That's really what's their name? I can't think of their name. I always draw a blank when I gotta say somebody's name. I don't know what that's all about. But it's a few sisters on there. Nia something. It's a couple of them, but Simone, Nia, and there's a bunch of sisters that's bad. And I mean, what do you guys thought, man? I saw Van Jones, man. I thought that was like huge, man. I love Van Jones. Like I don't care. I love Van Jones, but to see him be emotional and talk about what it means for his kids, I felt the same way. Like some of the things he talked about. But I think Van Jones is a powerful brother, man, and I just hope one day he can find his way in some kind of something to make some real powerful change because he's a powerful brother. But just seeing his emotions and how excited he was about the results and just talking about some of the things how he felt. And I agree with a lot of things. And I was just happy to see Van Jones. Did you see that, Rico? Did you see the thing with Van Jones? I think it was kind of powerful. He's a cool brother, man. I like Van Jones.
I seen it. It was
What?
It was touching. It definitely was touching. But then, I got my different views on this dude. I don't know. I mean,
I feel you. I didn't agree with everything, but it was certain things that he said. I mean, I put the politics to the side. Just seeing another black man, emotional about the process of his family in the future, man. I think that's more of what called to me because I could put the politics and everything to the side. I'm always thinking about the elevation of our young people, my family, my child, my grandchild. So I understand that perspective of where things possibly could be for them in the future. And I think that's what I took the most out of it.
No, I mean, he definitely said some good stuff, and I kind of felt, the emotion behind what he was feeling. It's just when individuals are on that high status, for me, it's like what they do, like stuff, emotional stuff like that, don't affect me in that capacity anymore because it's like you in a high level and you can reimagine a lot of stuff. You could have reimagined a lot of stuff and you chose not to, or you choose not to. So this emotion that you feeling in this high status or this high seat that you in is full of crap to me. So that's how I sometimes take it. I didn't take it all like that. I just kind of like seen it happen. I didn't really engage in the post. I just kind of flipped it up and was like, I didn't really want to engage too much in it. So maybe I'm gonna go back and look at it. I'm gonna go back and look at it though. I'm gonna go back. I promise. I'm gonna go back and look at it. Then I'll on Tuesday, John, give you my thoughts before we start the Hidden Gym show.
Okay, no problem. I mean, I just think it's dope, and I just hope move forward to black men in America, black and brown men in America. We got to step up. It's time for our black males to step up, and we got work to do, man. We gotta support our sisters. We got to get behind and help our sisters, man. And I mean, it's mental health thing we got to deal with in our communities. We gotta get it together. Our young men, man. We gotta sit y'all down and talk, man. This killing each other, this violence, man. We gotta knock this out, man, because we got things that we need to do in the future. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to work with more of these young people. And I just think we have an opportunity to do something great with our young people if we commit to them. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, but it's powerful.
I would also add that I think a lot of I've still been trying to figure that out, and I know a lot of people have been kind of sharing some of the actual statistics of like the voter turnout results. I have been seeing some of the states that like they broke their records in terms of voting and all that. I think generally from the information that I have been able to receive about voter turnouts, Black women turned out in numbers in many different ways, not just to vote. Also, like, again, keep talking about her, but Stacey Abrams, how many people she signed up to vote.
A lot. She signed
right.
Millions. She signed
right.
Millions, man.
So stuff like that, just it definitely don't want that to go unnoticed. That right there is something that's amazing, and I think I see people saying this all over, and I just have to repeat it. Yes, they all deserve their flowers while they're still here for the work that they did, and the utmost respect for all that they had to endure in terms of going through this to get, because it's not easy to go through and try and bring people along with them to go ahead and make some of the changes that needed to happen, and their continued work. And I hope that we get to more powers, more positions of power to make
Right.
greater influence.
Right. And Jada, speaking to that, and I want to say this again, and I hope this reached the universe all the way to Kamala Harris. Because of what happened to Stacey Abrams when she ran for governor of Atlanta, for Georgia, she was running for governor and they duped her out of that. I just hope that when they go to pick attorney general, they have her top on the list. I think that would be that'd be the greatest comeback after, because she was supposed to be governor of Georgia, man, and they kind of, the voter suppression was real. And yeah, Stacey Abrams is deep. You're right, Jada. She's a deep sister. I just hope Kamala, I hope Biden make her the attorney general. I think that would be huge, or something in that, something huge. You know what I mean? Just for what she went through. I hope they do something amazing for her and put her in a position that she could really impact people, because she had, like you said, Jada, she has a voice. She has this enthusiasm about herself. She has this great energy. And I would definitely love to just see her and responsible for something.
Right. Yeah, and just point out that even though, I'm sure she, Stacey Abrams appreciates, seeing all the love and support on social media, but it is going to take more than that too. We need to make those positions available to more people of color, more women, more men of color. We need it to be opened even more. But yeah, for sure.
Hey, Rico, real quick.
I just want to address what Dirk said.
Oh, go ahead.
So Dirk said, I still believe, I still don't like the fact when she was attorney general, locked up a lot of black men that don't sit with me. She said she was just doing her job. People change. So, I think that all of us kind of can look at, if we look at based on an educational level, right? We have social levels that we all learn on. And the social levels is based on your social environment. So your social environment could dictate which direction you go or how you live your lifestyle, right? So some of us come from social environments which are very impoverished and have different belief systems than others. But we find a way to navigate through them and then make it, right? And when I say make it, I mean make it out, go to school outside of your environment. And then that social environment shapes you in a way also. And then you gain education, right? So someone like her who has an education, most likely she spent a large vast of her years growing up in an institution, right? A school. And that helps shift you or shape your mindset also. So if you have a therapist, 9 times out of 10, they went to school for it, 9 times out of 10, they're going to practice in the framework that they were taught. Does that mean that the framework is for Black people or for people of color? No, it doesn't. It just means it's a frame, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to practice within the frame that you're taught. So if you're a lawyer, and as a lawyer, you're a defense attorney, or well, let's say you're a public defender, your mindset is to practice law as a public defender. If you're a district attorney, you're going to practice as someone who is representing the county or the state or whatever you're representing. So I think that a lot of times we just have to hold individuals accountable and to reimagining the work that we do, right? I think that everyone should become educated to a capacity of the work that they do. But then how do we look at these different careers or these different type of jobs and looking at them in a way to whereas we're saying, hey, this is intentionally incarcerating people of color. How do we reimagine this? How do we reimagine the work? Because a lot of time we blame the individual when it's actually the system. And the system continues to keep us distracted. So the distraction is we can blame 1,000 Black people who are in certain positions who are really only doing their job because their job is to prosecute. That's just the reality. The job is to prosecute, right? Can they do it any differently? Yes, of course. We know that there's, but that's their job. So I think that we just have to look at it a little differently. We just can't say, she, I mean, and then we gotta look what Corey always say. We know Lil Ray Ray and them was acting up. We know Lil Ray Ray and them was acting up. We know Lil Ray Ray and them and Lil Uzi Clip and all them, they was acting out. We know that for sure. So, she was doing the job. But I think that in this moment with her being, vice president-elect, with that experience and with that criticism, this is a good opportunity where she can actually create real reform because she was on the brunt end of it. Also Biden, I think that he was on the brunt end of some bad criticism. That 94 bill was terrible. And I mean, even though I know that it wasn't just him, it was Bill Clinton, it was some of our grandmothers, it was some of our grandpas, it was the churches who helped push that because the violence that was happening in our community. So I think that in this moment with the learning curve is going to be that what reforms can those two people actually create for the community to reimagine what does the system actually look like. Instead of blaming them, let's look at the system and keep our foot on the system neck.
And
That's what I say.
Just to add just really briefly onto that, Rico, I think you brought up a good point, but many good points. But I think one of the things that I'll add too is regardless of where anyone may stand in terms of how they view her when she was just doing her job, as she said, regardless of however you may view that, her career thus far, her actually being the vice president, regardless, there was some nonsense going on during her kind of running with Biden that is just unexcusable to disrespect her in that way, in terms of there was calling her they called her Ho Kamala. I know I'm probably pronouncing her name wrong, but they called her all types of things, bed wenches, this and that, like terms that have literally been used throughout history to put down Black women. And here is the Black woman up here doing this. And again, not necessarily that you have to agree with her. You don't have to like her, but to literally like some of the ways that was used to talk about her was just, it was crazy. It was really crazy. Like you do not have to like her, you do not have to agree, but it was, yeah.
Right, and I think you're right, Jada. And I mean, um, as a country, regardless of what political party or whatever is going on, we have to support the people, right? I've had my things that I've had issues with, right? But I'm willing to forgive and move forward now, right? So again, if the Democrats run the Senate and they control the House and the Senate and the presidency, I'm trying to see what this 100 days is gonna look like, right? When Trump was running, they had all this stuff to say about Trump. He got the House, he got everything, he got the support. So if they get the same support, I want to see some executive orders. I want to see some things happen. You know, all these feelings that Black males have against Kamala Harris. I want to see something that's showing she heard the complaints, she heard the people. For Black men in these communities, like how are you going to restore this justice to Black men in this community, right? So I'm done on the process. It's like, okay, now we here, this is who we got to get behind them. But I'm watching this first 100 days. I'm going to watch. I want to see what is she committing to for the Black males of the community, for the ones that's been harmed by this corrupt justice system. And I think starting off, taking marijuana off Schedule 1 would be a good start. You know, you got 15, 20 million men locked up in America who was locked up for minor or very, marginalized amounts of marijuana that's been convicted for 15, 20 years. I mean, like I said last night, I read that story and I see all these Black men, brown men in America locked up for 20, 30 years. Some place in Louisiana, I think a guy had an ounce of weed, he said, and he was like locked up for 30 years. So I want to see what they're going to do. And again, like I said earlier, we're not here. I'm not here to represent both sides of the conversation and say we're about drug support and marijuana, right? But my thing is now we have more states who just legalized marijuana for recreation in their state. corporations are making millions and billions of dollars right now off of marijuana. And we have people who've been locked up for 20, 30 years, maximum sentence, and penalized for small amounts of marijuana. It's time to get those people out, reunite them back with their families, and move forward. So I hope they can get this off the schedule one. I hope they get control of everything so it's in their hand. Um, but I want to see what this first 100 days is gonna look like. I mean,
Yeah.
I think if anything, Trump set the presidency on executive orders, and I want to see, you know, is the Democratic Party is going to be as savage as the Republican Party was. You know, they just threw lawyers, federal judges in there. They just passed up all the laws. And I'm not saying do it illegally, but again, I really want to see, is the Democratic Party going to put their foot down and hit the gas running on their first 100 days to repeal, to make changes, to affect the Black and brown community, the people of this country, right? We
And
got
you know,
40 million people out of work right now. Like, the politic game is over now. You're elected. We have our elected officials. It is now time to get to work, get this economy going, get these jobs back to these people, get people back engaged. And that's all I'm basing it on. I'm past her past. Right now with me, it's like, I know what it was, but this is where I'm at now. We're moving forward. And I want to see this first 100 days really impact this country. We got people out here, it is starting to be wintertime, who are homeless, who are struggling, people who were working, can't afford to pay their rents. I mean, I want to see them really impact this country. We got to start holding these big banks accountable. Okay, they gave people for this pandemic a few months of rent. These people need assistance now. So I'm past the game plan, right? I'm tired of all the political stuff now. We got a president. We got these elected officials. By the time this thing start rolling in January, the first 100 days, I want to see them working.
and I would just I'll add to that. I know there's so many pressing issues that needs to be worked on. So many. But there is something that, and I'm not saying, this is necessarily done on purpose, because there is just so much that needs to get done. But I haven't necessarily, and I'm going to be honest, maybe it's because I'm not looking hard enough, but I haven't heard too much about an environmental plan, which is kind of concerning. And I think it may be because there's a lot of other things at the forefront that makes sense. But I'm also interested to see in what is going to happen, if there's going to be any legislation put in place, stricter, well, let's just say stricter legislation on emissions, many things of that sort that can also help in the environmental realm, because that's always a super big issue that is kind of pushed to the side, because of course there are issues that we need to worry about at certain times that are affecting us at this very moment. But that's something that ultimately affects every single one of us, regardless of race, regardless of gender, anything. Like literally, if we do not have a planet to live on, we won't be here.
Yeah,
So
definitely. No, and this immigration policy is gonna be huge, man. These DACA kids, these kids that are locked up, disenfranchised from their families. I mean, we got to fix this. America, we got some things that we got to do. Our overseas policies, and that's why I said I want to see who they gonna put in their cabinets. Who's gonna be the Secretary of State? America, the relationships across the seas have been affected. We not even that's just one part of it. I mean, like you said, Jada, it's a lot. But how do we start healing some of these issues that America have right now? I mean, we have been viewed now as like the laughing stock of the world. I have people that I know that reached out from different countries, and they just like, what the heck is going on, right? So there's a lot of things that we're going to have to fix. We're getting down to our last 8 minutes of the show. Before we close out, I mean, we just got to unite, stay together, stick together. Black man, black woman, we got to support each other. Brown man, brown woman, we got to support each other. Community, we got to support each other. Um, I mean, this is the time we all, as American people, we got to stick together right now. We are so divided. We are so misunderstood. And, both sides of the conversation, that's what we want to do, is have more conversations about how do we unite as a country, man, because we are so divided. And we could do amazing things if we come together and in our different sectors of this country. But we have to start within our own local cities and counties, man. So San Francisco, how can we unite? Oakland, how can we unite? Vallejo, how can we unite? The Bay Area, how do we unite as black men, black women, brown women? How do we unite? How do we listen and learn from each other? How do we uplift each other? How do we support each other? And I mean, here at both sides of the conversation, we're trying to do that by supporting our businesses, supporting our black and brown leaders. Um, and we just got to keep doing this, man. We just got to keep uniting. We got to keep the hope, keep the faith. Like Jada said, we just got to keep the energy and keep going. So, Jada, anything you want to say lastly before we leave?
Yeah, I'll just close with saying, yeah, we really do have to unite, and we cannot forget the fact that anyways, regardless of how anybody voted, regardless if you did not vote because you did not like any of the candidates, however it is, the again, I am looking for more specifics on the actual statistics, but it's safe to say that Kamala and Biden did not get in without brown and black indigenous communities. Like, they did not get in there without people that look like me, you, and a lot of our listeners. Like, it happened literally with us. So we have to show up and show out. We got them in. We have to hold them up to whatever it is that we think that we need. We have to conversate with each other, figure out how are we going to approach it, what exactly are we going to ask for. Like you said, and like Rico said several times, like it literally has not stopped. It's just like now we don't necessarily have to worry about getting someone out, versus now it's just like we have to worry about, like, how are we going to make sure that they're pushing the agenda that we feel is going to be best for a lot of communities, especially our communities.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I would agree. We lost our other co-founder, Rico. I don't know what happened. He got kicked out or something. But we are getting ready to end this. So our next upcoming conversation next Sunday at 2 p.m., we are going to be having an in-depth conversation with our veterans, our military people, saluting them for the great work that they do. We're also going to dive into some of the challenges that they face, some of the policies and things that affect them. How can we help them as a community? So definitely, we would like to have some of you veterans out there to come on the show next week, because we want to support you and salute you, but also get some feedback and some understanding from a veteran perspective. How can we make things better for you guys? So if you would like to be a panelist, if you're a veteran and you had that knowledge or that information, please reach out to us at both sides of the conversation at Gmail. We would like to unite with you, and we would like to get you on as a panelist with us this next Sunday for the next Sunday conversation. I think it's going to be an amazing conversation. And then Tuesday coming up, we got an amazing week. We are reconvening with our Hidden Gem show this Tuesday at 7 p.m. We're going to have some amazing hidden gems. We're going to have some black businesses that we're going to highlight. So this Tuesday, we're going to have our Hidden Gem show. We're going to get that thing back rolling again, and it should be a very impactful and powerful show. And then following that show on Tuesday, we'll be having our Educational Thursday series coming on again. This week, we're going to have an amazing brother. You guys need to everybody need to log in, right? We know the challenges in the world. We have a civil lawyer coming on, Justin Ward, brother from the Bay Area, Sacramento area. He's going to be coming on to educate our people about some of the civil things that's going on, some stuff that's in the workplace, just things that you need to know legally, how to protect yourself, just give you great information. So definitely tune in for this week, Educational Thursday at 6 p.m. It's going to be a great conversation. He's going to educate the people. This brother's a bad lawyer, and he do his thing. So please tune in this Thursday for our Educational Thursday series. And then that Sunday, we'll have our military veteran salute. And I think it's going to be a very powerful and impactful show. We have a couple panelists that we know will be on, but definitely we want to get some more of you veterans out there, because we like to hear the perspective from the different veterans, no matter what military branch you're in. If you are a veteran and you serve this country, you served our people in the black and brown community, please come on, because we want to have a great conversation with you all. And Rico's back, so I'm gonna let Rico go ahead and take us out. Thank you guys for the day, and Rico, go ahead and take them out.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching both sides of the conversation. I'm your boy, Rico Hamilton, co-founder of Both Sides of the Conversation. We got our program coordinator, amazing Jada Curry. We also got a co-founder, John Henry. Thank you for watching our show. Thank you everyone who sponsors us and that supports us and who has our back. Thank you out there for watching us, all our fans, everybody that's a part of the Both Sides of the Conversation platforms. You can follow us on Both Sides of the Conversation group on Facebook. You can follow us on Both Sides of the Conversation Instagram, Twitter, and you can go now on to YouTube, and you can follow us on both sides of the conversation. So Tuesday, make sure you watch us 6 p.m. Hidden Gems segment where we highlight people of color to come that's doing amazing stuff in the community, and we highlighting them. If you know somebody that needs to be highlighted, please submit them to both sides of the conversation at gmail.com. Also, we have educational Thursdays, like John said. So please just make sure that you keeping track and you watching it on our Facebook group. We always gonna have something pinned at the top, our promotional flyers. So if you don't know what's going on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Sunday, you can go there and you can figure it all out. Thank you all for watching. We love you guys, and y'all have an amazing rest of your weekend. And we out.